Hi, and welcome to Wrong Way. And today we're going to review the KingSong N11 Cheetah, the most high-tech premium e-scooter that I've reviewed on this channel. So, let me tell you more about it. Wrong way. First of all, big thanks to KingSong for sending me the scooter and also sponsoring this video. Although as usual there will be no sugarcoating in this video, and I'll point out everything that's bad about the scooter, but also what makes the scooter great. First of all, I'll tell you about the overall specifications and performance, and later on, a bit of like a Jimmy Chang style, I'll tell you what I liked and what I disliked about the scooter, followed by a conclusion of if you should buy one or not. That is, when it comes out. If you have never heard about KingSong as a scooter rider, that's totally fine. The main focus of this company are electric unicycles. I was curious to find out how a company that focuses on electric wheels would transfer its know-how and technology into an electric scooter. And keep in mind that this is not the first scooter that KingSong produces, but their newest one. So let's take a closer look into this pre-production unit that I got. Let's start with the range. The scooter features a 60 volt and 22.4 amp hour battery, and in my real world test I managed to get a range of 40 kilometers when riding with my usual riding style and 52 when riding a bit more responsible with the throttle. Keep in mind that you can get even less than that, like 30 kilometers if you ride off-road and hardcore, or even more if you limit the scooter to the first mode, which is around 25 kilometers an hour. I'd say then you would have a range of 70 kilometers or so. The scooter features two 1200 watt motors powered by a single smart controller, which outputs around 70 amps. Here's the acceleration test. 1, go! 40, 50, 60, that's the limit. 1, go. The results are in, and the KingSong N11 is a bit faster than the 010X and slower than the VZ 10 Plus. Still, a UC that will presumably be at a similar price point just blows them out of the park. I am a little bummed out that the KingSong didn't reach its advertised 60 km/h top speed. To stop the scooter from those speeds, we have a set of Zoom semi-hydraulic brakes that feature 140mm rotors. Now this is good, but usually I would maybe complain just a little to have nut brakes and bigger calipers. However, this scooter has amazing regenerative braking, so usually you don't even use those brakes at all. They were also less squeaky than usual, and overall the fluidness of the braking and acceleration with the thumb throttle is something I really like, but more on that later. We also tested the climbing performance of the scooter with a solid pass at a 25-degree slope.
Easy.
It barely managed to climb its advertised 30-degree slope. and the 35-degree incline remains to be conquered just by the Nami scooter or most of the powerful electric wheels. A nice feature was also that it was notifying me when it was overpowered. Alright, so now let's talk about the physical aspects of the scooter and the design. First up, the suspension. It features a rubber cartridge suspension, much similar to the Dualtrons, but here it's a little softer. We also have two 11-inch tires with a really heavy thread and mostly designed for off-road use. Like all e-scooters, it's also folding, but it has a pretty peculiar mechanism that I will explain later. It looks similar to a Xiaomi one, but with a rubber band that keeps it from folding out. It definitely needs improvement, but more on that later. We have a pair of electrically protected GX16 ports, so there is no spark there if you don't connect the charger first to the plug, a solid kickstand, and a great tail mudguard. The front mudguard needs improvement. The scooter is comfortable to stand on, however it's not really that roomy. I wish that the deck would be wider and a bit longer, and I wish that the footrest would be a bit bigger too. The handlebars move pretty close to your body, however this makes the geometry of the scooter really nice. When it comes to features, there's a really powerful, best on the market e-scooter headlight in the front that shines really nicely and is definitely enough for nighttime rides. In a RGB taillight, which is not the most powerful, I would suggest adding some Shredlights like I did on this scooter. And there's also RGB underglow light, which looks really decent and not too powerful. On the handlebar you'll find a bell, the zoom hydraulic brakes, and the screen in the middle, which is presumably borrowed from the KingSong N10. The button for the main computer or display is in the middle, so very unfortunate placement, very uncomfortable to use during riding. And you have a set of different button press combinations to select different modes, set between single and dual motor, and see different parameters on the screen like the voltage, amp, output, and speed. By far the most annoying combination is the single dual motor selection. It's not a button, you have to actually hold the brake lever and press the button in the middle 6 times to change the dual and single motor mode. On the right, we can see the very comfortable thumb throttle and another zoom hydraulic brake lever. Alright, so let's get into the stuff I didn't like so much in this scooter. First and foremost, the horribly loud tire noise. The thread in these off-road tires is very deep and they're very wide, and this made them just unbelievably loud to ride on concrete and asphalt. It was just very annoying on longer rides, and it was difficult to talk to people next to me. You know, as good as they are off-road, they are very annoying on good surfaces. The next thing I didn't like so much is the range, and I really expected more of a efficient ride with the KingSong controllers, but I think due to the heavy tires and the overall weight of the scooter, it wasn't really that great. And for similar or less money, you can get a electric wheel that will easily do 70 kilometers of range, like for example the Tesla 3 I'm gonna review soon, which is a way more usable distance, especially if you have more errands to run, you don't want to have range anxiety, and you don't want to always take your charger with you. Next thing I didn't like so much is the disappointingly slow charging out of the box. This definitely should be around 6 hours of charging out of the box, not like 10, 11. I would want a bit more room on the deck, as I talked before, and the button placement on the handlebar is, well, very uncomfortable to say the least. In KingSong's defense, I really didn't need to change modes so much because the ride is just so fluid and so great with the throttle and the regen. However, sometimes I just want to have a single motor, especially if I'm riding in rain. Talking about rain and water resistance, here we have a bit of a good point and a bad point. The good point is that you've seen me off-roading and going through puddles, and I've opened up the scooter later to see that the inside of it is just fully clean. Now, I talked with KingSong about it, and they're saying that, well, in a light drizzle you can go in rain, or if you have to, but there is essentially no warranty on it, and in the instruction manual you find a text that you shouldn't ride in rain and you shouldn't go through puddles. Now, it's great that it was clean inside and I could, go off-road and go through rain and there wasn't any issues at all. However, I'm just sad that they didn't make the next step and gave it a IP rating or made themselves liable or put warranty onto riding in wet conditions, because, well, not every one of us lives in California and we still need to get to work even if it's raining outside. A couple of less notable things I didn't like so much was the screen functionality. There was just like very little info displayed on the screen. There were also some software bugs, but these can be worked out. Like, for example, the battery indicator was quite inaccurate, just the one on the smartphone was accurate. And for example, if you ride in single motor, you only brake with a single motor. I think it would be nice to adjust that too, or have always the dual motor braking, because this region is just important. There was also a ridge in the steering initially, so it was easier to find this middle point, but it was a bit annoying if you were riding slower and you need to turn, but this ridge was gone after the 150-200 kilometers, and it's also a bit squeaky, but that's, I think, a general trait of folding scooters. The taillight, as said, it was weak. It would be nice to have a strong one. But all of these things are more or less minor details. The main thing probably I didn't like so much about the scooter was the folding mechanism. Now, it wasn't the issue that there was wobble in the handlebar, because there was pretty much no wobble. The stem was very strong. But the thing is that all of these screws and bolts that you see here get loose after a while, and I had to just tighten them with a screwdriver. And all of those screws were just Phillips heads. I would much rather see beefier screws there and a hex head to make the tightening just solid. But all in all, this mechanism didn't inspire the most confidence in me. And if you wouldn't have this small funny elastic rubber band over it, the folding mechanism could just open up by itself when riding and it would just fold on you, which is ridiculous. I think a similar mechanism, just a lot more beefy, is in the VSET 10 Plus, and in the VSET there is 2 additional security pins or screws that hold the whole thing together. And here it's just a rubber band, and this is a thing they absolutely need to change or improve in the final version, because, well, I was riding, off-road, on-road, quick, and all of that, but I was checking the scooter from time to time, and I still didn't feel as comfy on it as I could. There needs to be further improvement made in the folding mechanism of the KingSong N11. But with that said, the rant about that thing is over. Let's talk about the things I did like. First, I wanted to mention that the ride and the acceleration and braking is just awesome on the scooter. It's my favorite throttle brake engagement that I've had on a scooter yet, because it's comfy to ride. You can ride on the most powerful mode and you can have regen on maximum, and it's still very bearable. It almost like accelerates like a e-wheel of sorts. It's very fluent, very predictable, And yeah, I think it's just great. I would like to have a little more power than is here, but for everyday use, this I think is more than enough. It's also intelligent, so if you have less battery, it will have a smaller power output, so you don't cut off and it just like doesn't turn off on you. It's just smart, and it works tremendously well. It's really a joy to use the throttle and brake on the scooter when you get used to it. It also doesn't have such a huge dead space on the throttle like the Nami has. I also really like the safety elements on the scooter. The BMS is smart. You can check the temperature of the motherboard and it will shut off if it's too warm. I like the charge ports that are short circuit protected, and all of the connectors inside on the motherboard are also pretty beefy and good. The geometry and handling is nice. The screen visibility is also pretty good. And let's not forget why I call it a high-tech scooter, because the functionality here and features are really great, especially if you dive into the app. Like, you can adjust the responsiveness of the throttle and of the brake from 0 to 100. You can change the modes, obviously. You can lock the scooter in the app and set up a password. There's a cruise control adjustment, so how many seconds you have to wait until the cruise control engages. And the cruise control is actually smart, so it will actually keep the speed of the scooter and not how much throttle was applied when the cruise control engaged. A small thing, but still very nice. There's also a audible signal when the cruise control engages, and it's really easy to turn it on and off, very fluid. However, I don't use it that much because in off-road is not really that helpful. You can adjust when the scooter engages the throttle, when you want a kickstart. There's precise data and also software updates that can make your scooter better over time. And in this league of scooter, of like premium scooter, this is hands down the only one that does that. The only thing that I would like here maybe a bit more is, like the Nami, there could be additional settings for individual motors to distribute the power regarding to what you need, and to adjust the modes separately. So you have one mode for rain, one mode for power, and one mode for whatever. Not just 1, 2, 3 with different power settings, but really adjustable modes like Nami has. But I think it's possible, as said, with the software updates. Last but not least, I think the scooter delivers a very universal package with good lighting, good mud guards, pretty good waterproofing, of course with a caveat, and all in all, a good all-around performance. I also like the suspension on the scooter. Now, it's not as soft as a 010X or a VSET, and it's not as stiff as a dual trend. I was surprised how well it performs off-road and how much fun I actually have off-road, which I really didn't expect. In some cases, like going over train tracks, it's a bit too stiff and in, a bit more bigger bumps, but overall I think it's a good compromise. So with all of that said, my wish list for the production version would be to have a stronger charger inside of the box, to have a redesigned, more safe folding mechanism, a street tire option would be great as well, and a software update which would give more functionality to the scooter. I know that some of you don't really agree with my conclusions, but as usual, the conclusion is to get an electric wheel. And even in KingSong's range, there's the 16X, which is amazing. An amazing, comfortable wheel with way more range, with way more comfort. You don't get your hands tired, and yeah, just get an electric wheel. If you are dead set on a scooter, I would think twice. If really your only option is to get a scooter, then I would be looking out for the KingSong N11, because it's fully packed with features, it has a very enjoyable ride, and makes a good package in the scooter world. But as I know KingSong, this good package won't come cheap. And with all of the competition, I think it still stands out, but if you just want more performance, you would have to look somewhere else. But if you want a complete experience with good features overall and a good balance, then yeah, the KingSong N11 Cheetah is pretty cool. So with that said, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.